part 3 of SCIO's On the Road Again Vehicle Modification Peer Connection Series. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we live and work on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations across Turtle Island. While we meet today on a virtual platform, we must recognize the importance of the land and our treaty agreements. We acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territories of all Inuit, Métis, and First Nations peoples. Further, we reaffirm our commitment and responsibility to improve our own understanding of Indigenous peoples, their cultures, and their histories. Let us acknowledge our privilege and work together to decolonialize systems as we begin to engage in new ways of learning, being, and doing. Let us build relationships that honor and uphold the voice and values of our Indigenous hosts. As our spinal cord injury community encompasses many geographies, we ask that everyone take a few moments of their day to find out which unceded or treaty territories you may live and work on. You can use the link www.native-land.ca to learn more. Before we get started, just a bit of housekeeping. Today's presentation will be recorded. You can change your name as it appears on your screen. Should you not wish your full name to appear, simply edit it as you wish. If you need assistance with that, please reach out using the chat function. After the presentation, there will be a question and answer opportunity. Any questions you have can be submitted using the chat function. Please click on the raise hand icon if the chat function is not accessible to you, and we will unmute you and you can ask your question out loud. The On the Road Again Vehicle Modification Series is sponsored by Silver Cross Automotive, and the sponsor and primary presenter of part 3 of the series is Universal Motion, who will be followed by content from 9 consumers from our disability community who are sharing their unique vehicles, experiences, and life lessons. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Driving means the world to me. After my injury, I didn't know what I was going to do. Driving was literally my life before. It was my job. It was my passion. It's all I really thought about. So when I lost the use of my legs, I was wondering, what am I going to do? Thankfully, I had a lot of great people around me, support, and the internet got me back behind the wheel driving with hand controls. Now I am building a race car. I drive a truck on air ride suspension. And my vehicles, quite frankly, give me freedom on a daily basis. Freedom and independence, something that is valued and taken for granted by a lot of people. And that's what driving affords me. I couldn't be happier, and I am the happiest when I am behind the wheel.
Please welcome Marco Ferreira, owner of Universal Motion.
Hello, everybody. I can't see myself. Hello, everybody. I started Universal Motion in '98, and being a consumer myself, right from the beginning, we focused on a solution-driven approach to driving. What we try and do is look at what your need is, what your budget is, and then we try and find the best solution to get you back on the road independently. And from there, because we carry all the different brands, we don't really focus on one brand or another. We look at what's the best brand that fits you. We did a short video just to give you some case studies of what we worked on, and just give you an idea of what kind of things that we do. DJ, please. This is obviously coming into our office. As I said, we carry all the different brands. We have Braun, we have EMI, and we have all the different hand controls and different systems that people need. Coming into the shop, we come into the showroom, and you'll see different vehicles. This is a used vehicle that we have. This is my toy, a 1965 Lincoln that I'm building for myself. And then you can see all the different conversions that are available. The first case that I'm going to show you is Jerry and Madalena Mariano. They've been customers of ours since 2004. We built a number of vans for them and gone through the different evolutions of their driving. This last one that you can see here, Jerry didn't want to transfer anymore because his shoulders were starting to hurt. So we decided to go with an SUV approach, lowered floor, in-floor conversion, and where Jerry can just drive into the seat belt and position himself for driving without having to transfer. A lot less stress on him, and certainly from a time perspective, it takes a lot less time to get going. And then Madalena comes in behind and gets into the front passenger position. Now you probably notice that Madalena's wife is a little bit on the short side. So for her, on the passenger side, we built up a platform, 2-inch platform, for her to be able to get up onto the platform and raise herself so she can see a bit better when they travel together. The choice of vehicle was, he wanted something a bit different, didn't want to have typical minivan. But it was also because we wanted to get an in-floor ramp. In-floor ramps versus fold-out ramp, we get that question a lot, which one's better? Personally, I prefer in-floor ramps, but from a standpoint of a technical standpoint of maintenance and so forth, in-floor ramps tend to be lower maintenance than fold-out ramps. Overall, more reliable. They do not freeze in winter like many people say. In all the years that we've been selling them, we never had one freeze. This is our second case. We'll call her CK. CK has a degenerative condition where she went from walking into a wheelchair, doesn't have money to buy a new vehicle, and this is the vehicle that she had before. So literally she would open the hatch, put her wheelchair in the back, and crawl literally on the ground to the driver's position, so she could drive and still maintain some freedom. So she approached March of Dimes, and March of Dimes called us, and they asked us what we could do. And this is a solution we came up with using her car, so she didn't have to buy another car. So we put a reverse swing door, took the second row seat out. The reverse swing door still maintains all the structure integrity of the vehicle and the compliance. We put a space took the second row seat out and put a space for the wheelchair. And then we put a transfer board. We modified it to fit the Fiesta because there is no transfer board for the Fiesta. So she can transfer onto the board and put her wheelchair into the back, and then be able to turn around and just basically transfer in to into her seat and be able to drive away. And this was all, we were able to do this all within the funding limit of March of Dimes. The third case is actually my van. I'm C56 quad, so ramps going in and out of minivans is a problem for me. Didn't want to drive a full-size van, wanted something smaller, so I opted for the Mercedes Metris. Surprisingly, the interior space of the Metris is more than the standard full-size van. And the ramp, I chose to go with a ramp underneath the vehicle, a UVL, so that I could not compromise the inside space of the vehicle. 6-way transfer seat, transfer, and then position myself behind the the steering wheel and then being able to drive away. And this is a choice I made for myself, and it works. When we look at putting any kind of modification to a vehicle, we have to keep in mind how the vehicle is going to operate in all the different areas. Putting a ramp underneath the mattress would have given, without modification to the vehicle, would have given me a ground clearance of only 3 inches, which is not very much. So we ended up needing to modify the suspension. We raised the vehicle by 2 inches on the suspension. And then we gained another 1.5 inches on the by oversizing the tires and the rims. So we now underneath the lift, once the lift is put away, we actually have 6.5 going on towards 7 inches of ground clearance, which is more than adequate to basically get around and not run into problems. So that is the solution that works for me. And driving Mercedes is nice. We do keep an inventory of vehicles of all kinds, new and used. And here's we're exploring different options. This is a product that we bring in from Denmark. It's a power tie down. It replaces the Easy Lock that you all know. What I like about it is that it does not compromise the ground clearance of the vehicle. It's a plate that gets mounted underneath. You can see the hole is where the lock goes into the plate and holds the chair. This system has been crash tested pretty much with just about every model of wheelchair. They insist they will not allow their plate to be installed in any chair that has not been crash tested by them. And they actually have the facilities in-house to do that. It's a system that comes out of Denmark. As you can see, the biggest value out of it is that there's no ground clearance compromise, so you can still go over wherever you want to, anywhere, without getting hung up. How many times do you hear stories of people getting hung up on the sidewalk or ripping up the carpet or the threshold of a car? Trailer hitches. Trailer hitches on a wheelchair accessible van is not something that is easy to do, but we were able to do that. And it does require quite some modification, both to the vehicle and the hitch itself, but it can be done. Here you see some vans, some of the vans that we carry. This would be one of our used vans. Again, when we bring a used van in, we'll go through a refurbishment process so that when it's offered back up for sale, we can put warranty back on it so that there is some peace of mind and that you don't have to run into problems. So just show 2 or 3 vans that we carry and what we do. This is a Pacifica by Braun. I know you saw the VMI last week, so I thought we'd showcase a couple of Braun vans. Braun and VMI are the 2 major brands available for wheelchair accessible vans. They have different design philosophies. So the Braun Ability tends to design their vans as close to OEM as possible. The VMI tends to design their vans maximizing function as much as possible, which is why you'll find VMIs with probably more space inside than the Brauns. But the Brauns have more of a better fit and finish. So it really comes down to what works best for you as a consumer. Cost-wise, they're both very similar in cost. So again, it becomes a choice. And like I said earlier, fold-out ramp versus in-floor, they're both good. Fold-out ramps are more common. They offer the advantage that if something breaks down, just push on it and it will go and it will open out. Whereas an in-floor ramp, if it fails, then you have to actually engage the manual overrides. And it's a bit more it's a bit more complex, but again, it becomes a choice. Inflow ramps leave the passenger sliding door unobstructed. This is a Braun 2021 Sienna hybrid. And Braun will not do an all-wheel drive. They will only work on the front-wheel drive Sienna. So you have the XLE front-wheel drive Sienna that from Braun, as you can see there. This van is another case that we did. Client comes to us and says that his wife can only travel lying down and only on a certain type of surface because she has some severe back problems. So he bought himself a nice brand new Honda, and then he asked us to install these seats in the second row. Doesn't look like much, but these seats do not belong to this van, and neither do they match the van. So we put the seats in, and still maintained all the crash worthiness of the vehicle and the seat belts and everything, so that anybody using the van is safe. Again, this is a Honda, a Braun Honda that just wanted to show with the traditional QRT installed. This again showcasing some of the inventory vans that we have, and again looking at inflow ramps, and this is showing the dowel system installed in the front passenger position with a client. The next spot that we're going to show is this is the back of our shop. As you can see, it's not, we've got quite a lot of space for vans. We have 6 service hoists to work with. We actually build our own rear entry vans. So that will be one of the vans that we built, and that is backing out for testing. And you can see the tubs. This van here is Mercedes Metris. We had a client with a child, did not want to drive a minivan, low floor minivan, wanted to have something high end like a Mercedes. So we chose the Metris, and we built this custom ramp. She did not want to have a lift either underneath or above. She wanted the van to look as normal as possible on the outside. So we designed this power lift. This is a power lift that sits in the passenger door, and we also added a kneeling system to the van, so the van will lower itself and the ramp will come out, so that the ramp is shorter. This is another product line that we carry called the ATC conversions. This is the interior of the vehicle, and the particular of it is just how it's does not show it to be converted. But what this allows us to do is for a person to drive from a wheelchair in on a pickup. So the platform will come out, will lower and you can see that you position the person in the wheelchair on the platform, swing, and then they lock. And then they can drive from their wheelchair in a pickup. And this would work really well for somebody who lives more in a rural community where ground clearance is a problem and they cannot transfer. So the only drawback of this system is that whoever's in the wheelchair is pretty well the primary driver, and this makes it a bit more difficult to go around with unless they're driving. But it does give them the freedom to be able to drive, and especially if they live in the country, and where ground clearance is a problem. We do have clients where they run into problems with ground clearance. This is another product that we carry. It's a side entry lift that fits underneath. It's been designed for the Mercedes Metros, and it's approved by Mercedes. In fact, in Europe, it's actually installed by Mercedes at the factory on the vans. And because of the side access, it means that you don't really get stuck in parking lots with people parking beside you. You can still get in and out of your vehicle. So these are some of the different things that we try and approach and get back on the road for everybody. So I hope you enjoyed that, and any questions, I'll stick around and we can answer them at the end. Thanks.
Thank you, Marco. And yes, we will be answering questions at the end. So everyone, please do stick around if you do have a question. We'll do a Q&A at the end. We would like to now please welcome Fernando Resende.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, viewers. Thanks to SCIO Ontario for having me. And I think today what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to try and bring to the discussion is I've been driving probably for about 40 years almost, 16 years post SCI, and it's just been always a joy for me. It's something I really enjoyed from the get-go, from the moment I was 16 and got my license. And after my injury, I didn't want my injury to affect what I drove and how I drove and all that stuff. So I was very particular and adamant about, about the conversion and basically driving with hand control. So what I'm going to do is just show you a PowerPoint and basically share my personal experiences and what worked for me and some of the things I've learned and some of the things I've experienced in the last 16 years. So we'll start off. I'll share my screen here. We'll go right to the PowerPoint. Okay. I hope everybody can see that. So yeah, so as I mentioned, for me, driving, as most people experience, I think after a spinal cord injury, it's complete freedom. I mean, to drive again was something that I wanted to do, and to do it again for the first time post-injury was an incredible experience. And I think what I'll talk about today is, obviously I'll talk about that freedom a little bit. I'm going to talk about sure grip hand controls because they're the only ones that I've ever driven, and that's what I have a knowledge base for. I'm going to talk a little bit about spinner knobs, memory buttons, a TMN robot device I had in my first vehicle, a two-door versus a four-door vehicle, cars versus SUVs, and then we'll get into the fun stuff, accessible go-kart racing and racetrack days. So first off, speaking to freedom, a buddy of mine who's a photographer did a profile on a bunch of different people, and he did this a couple of years ago. And for me, this quote kind of says it all. Being able to get in a car by myself, get the chair in, and drive anywhere I want to go is special. When I'm in the car, no one knows I'm in a wheelchair, and that doesn't happen very often because I'm identified by that object. I become incognito when I'm in the car, and I become like everybody else. And the freedom, the independence, the ability to go anywhere, anytime you want to go is something we often take for granted. And, you know, hand controls do that for me. So great experience. First time driving post SCI. So in terms of the Sure Grip hand controls, the ones I use are called the push rock system. And there's basically two versions that I've used, the traditional and the feather light system. They have a lot of different options, but these are the ones that I basically dealt with. So the traditional ones are an older version, the ones I've probably driven the most with, because the feather lights are fairly new, last couple of years. But very simple system. You basically push the brake, you pull down, sort of twisting to accelerate. You can see it's very mechanical. They're just rods that are connected to the brake and the gas. And then you have a manual lockout system that you can basically lock them out for an able-bodied driver. Those are still installed in my SUV. In my car, you can see here, exact same system, still a push rock system, but they eliminate the rod that goes to the gas. And it's beautiful because it's plugged right into the ODM and the computer. And I've just got these installed probably about a year and a half ago. And what a difference. I mean, because it's obviously plugged in right into the computer. It's, you know, the sensitivity and the responsiveness is just so much better. So eventually these will go in my truck once I get something different and I switch them out. Yeah, absolutely love these. The other beauty is that you can see two buttons on the bottom. The blue button, what happens is when you start the car, you have 5 to 10 seconds to push that button before the hand controls automatically lock out. So you don't have to remember to physically lock out the hand controls for an able-bodied driver, which is a bonus. There's also an orange button, which is called city mode. And what that does is it cuts the percentage of acceleration down by 50%, and which is great. I mean, if you're in a tight spot and you're trying to go back and forth or a 3 or 5 point turn, especially in my car, this car is very powerful, very torquey. There's over 500 horsepower, and or a winter condition where it's slippery out, the city mode really helps out there. In terms of my hand controls, I've had them all installed at Universal Motion. You just heard Marco, and he's been amazing. We did a lot of vehicles together, and another company called Cortland Mobility, just because of the proximity to where I live now. They do great stuff as well. So spinner knobs. I personally don't use a spinner knob. I tried it several times. I've had it in rental vehicles. I can see the benefit for sure in terms of being in a tight space and being able to turn really quickly, do a lot of revolutions, makes total sense. For me, what I found personally with the spinner knob was when I let the steering wheel spin out after a turn, I would catch the knob and it wouldn't work for me. So, but I can definitely see the benefits for some people. So it's definitely worth mentioning. The memory buttons are super important. What I do is I assign one memory button to my driving position, the other memory button to my transfer position. When you're transferring the chair and bringing it across your chest into the car, into the passenger seat or the rear seat, you need the chair, your chair to be basically raked all the way back and your seat as low as possible to maximize entry, the entry space that you have available to bring it across. So those two buttons make the whole process really a lot quicker. The first vehicle I had was, it was actually a 4-door wagon. And speaking to the fact that even pre-injury, the minivan scenario just wasn't for me. I always like to drive a car and stay low. And so I ended up getting this wagon, but I wasn't strong enough to transfer the chair on my own. So this system really helped me initially for the first couple of years. And it was a TMN robot. And it basically I'd clip my chair on without even taking any parts off, and it would take the chair automatically into the trunk space and close the door. And it was it was great because it was a lateral transfer. It was automatic. But I learned a couple of things after a few years of using this. Number one, a short door. With 4 doors, you end up with shorter doors, which means your entry point is smaller, which is not a great thing. I found the unit incredibly slow. So it took a lot of time in and out. And it was kind of an attention grabber, which I didn't always like. It eliminated any trunk space because basically the whole thing took up the whole trunk. And then I had reliability issues just because it was mechanical. Obviously, you know, if something happens, you're going to be in a bit of a pinch. You're going to be stuck. So I passed it on to someone else, sold the vehicle, who also used it, and it helped them for a while. So I was really happy to do that. I learned that it was basically, for me personally, what worked was 2 doors, specifically coupes. Again, longer door openings. It's also about how wide the door opens. So if the door opens 90 degrees or close to 90, that's a benefit as well. Obviously, when you're doing a lateral transfer, because it's a car, it's low, and the ease of lifting a chair, it's easier. I had a cabriolet after a while, and that was amazing because you had no roof, so you just lift the chair right up and not worry about banging anything. And providing it wasn't raining, it was an easy transfer. So I've had pretty much always 2-door coupes and sports cars, just because of personal preference. I want to reiterate the fact, you know, obviously if you're doing 3, 4, let's just say 3 errands a day, that equals 8 transfers, because you're leaving your house and coming back to your house. So it's like, you got to remember the wear and tear on your shoulders. So you got to make your scenario work for you and work as easily as possible. And another thing I want to mention is that the hand controls that you put in, you can always have Marco or whoever you deal with take those hand controls, and they can be reused in a lot of instances in other vehicles. So I've had some hand controls that I've used in 3 or 4 vehicles, and that's something to be aware of. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a technical issue here. It's not, oh, there we go. It doesn't seem to want to go forward all of a sudden. Bear with me here.
Just click the mouse onto the slide. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry, let's try that again. No, there's something going on actually. Yeah, there's something weird going on.
You don't have control anymore?
No, I've lost complete control.
Okay. Do you want to just exit out and then play back again?
Sure.
There was nothing that happened. So on my end.
Weird. Yeah, I actually have no mouse pointer.
Okay, so I'll stop the sharing and then you can go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go. I'll try again.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I don't know
what's
going on. There we go.
Oh, good. Yep.
No, again, something is going on.
What happens if you click on the first slide, double click it? Would that start up the slide?
The problem is I'm losing my mouse pointer. Like I don't have a mouse pointer. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So I can't actually direct it in any particular way. It's kind of just doing its own thing.
Yep.
Do you want me to try and quit? What I can do is
if you
stop the share.
Yeah.
And I can quit PowerPoint and relaunch it. Maybe there's something going on there.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, because now you can see I've got a spinning. Let's see here. Yeah, so I've got, there's something going on completely.
What we can do is we can always sort of let you work on that, Fernando, and then we can move on to the next person. And if it's okay, we'll come back to you.
Okay, wait a minute. I think I'm good now. Let's see what
Okay, let's
happens
try
here.
that again.
I'm going to quit PowerPoint regardless and try and there's my mouse pointer and relaunch it. Okay, so I'm going to share screen.
Still no more mouse control, eh?
No, still.
Okay. Okay, so what you can do is you can try and figure this out. If not, send me this slide, send Leander and he can send it to me. And then I can play this for you and then you can narrate.
Okay. So what do you want me to do?
If you can forward that your slide deck to Leander.
The PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint? Yeah. Then I can play that while you're narrating.
Okay, so do you want to, where do you want me to send that?
Okay, so can you send it to vj.jagathees, so JEGATHEES, first dot, last name, as you see on my Zoom, at sciontario.org. And Jaspreet, yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the next presenter while we get this sorted out. Is that good, Fernando?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
I don't know what's going on here.
So
yeah,
I'm going
don't apologize. Yeah, no apologies needed. Technology is technology. So we'll come back to you. Let us know when. Just somebody let me know. We can always come back. I'm going to please welcome Frank Iannuzzi.
Everyone, thanks for having me today. I'm excited to show you my Can-Am Spyder. So it's a motorcycle, a three-wheel motorcycle, and I'm just going to go through some features on what I needed to do to adapt the motorcycle. And then at the end, I can give you a bit of life lessons in general on my driving experience.
am I seeing the video? I'm good to go.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So here's the Can-Am Spyder. Basically, I'm going to start off with the stock seat. The seat that came with it, in order to have access to the gas tank, you'd have to get off the bike and lift the whole seat. So I got an aftermarket seat that has a actual compartment here that you can just open up and I can gas up. So I don't need to get off the bike to gas up. So that made things much easier. On the back here, you'll see the rack that the chair sits on. And you can see my wife's Harley behind me. That's the whole reason for me to get the bike. The other feature that I needed to take care of, the Spyder has the brake on your foot. So I had to bring the braking system to my hand. So you can actually buy a kit in the States and purchase the kit, and that brings a hydraulic brake to the hand. And I actually had some buddies install it, so it's not overly, and there's the brake on the actual original bike. So those are basically the modification. And I put some pedals on for my feet because I couldn't reach the floorboards. So now I'm just going to show you how I get on and off the bike. I'm not in gear. It was raining and I was too lazy to get into my motorcycle gear. Usually I'll be all suited up, helmets and whatnot. So basically what I do is I transfer onto the seat and I stay side saddle. You could YouTube videos, and there's lots of different ways in getting on the bike. I've seen quite a bit. I find this is probably the easiest. I've seen lots of different techniques, but at the end of the day, it's whatever works for you. So I go side saddle, and then what we do is we just tip the chair over. Line up the chair so the axle bar sits in the bracket. Once I have that axle bar lined up, I just adjust the front pedals. There's a hook on the front that keeps the front of the chair down. And there you go. So that's into place. And then just a couple of bungee cords just for extra safety. It'll actually sit in place without the bungee cords, but just to be safe. And you can see my wife sits behind there, and she can sit there fairly comfortable. Another thing, this seat allows you for a backrest if needed. So that was how I get on the bike. And now we're going to show you how basically I get off the bike. You have the second video?
Yep, I'm playing that right now. Give me a second.
Thanks, Vijay. So like I said, I kind of Googled it, and there's lots of other ways of getting on and off the bike. I would have rode off in the sunset for you, but it was a rainy day. So basically, bring the leg over, so kind of opposite to what I did to get on. And this really gives us a chance for me and my wife to ride. Sometimes when we go on long trips, we'll ride together, and at times she'll take her bike, depending on how we feel that day. The actual bracket is actually screwed into the actual frame of the bike, so it's quite sturdy. Just making sure I don't fall off. And that's how I dismount the bike. So like I said earlier, it came about around, my wife, she's Brazilian, and she grew up riding motorcycle all her life. And, when she was in Canada, she wanted to get a bike, and, it's an expensive toy, and she was hesitant to get such an expensive toy. So, she was concerned, and I said, go ahead, let's get the bike, and we'll figure something out in terms of me being able to ride. And that's how we came across the Can-Am. I just felt that the Can-Am required a lot less modification than other bikes. And other bikes, you needed a little bit of experience in order to ride like just a straight two-wheeler. And I don't have experience. I wasn't a big bike guy when I started this, becoming one. But this was the best option. So that's why we went with the Can-Am. In terms of, I've been driving for over 30 years, and I can only echo a lot of Fernando's comments. I think that the trick, if I were to give you any advice, the trick is, finding that balance between style and what you need. I rode a car or drove a car for many, many years, and I put that chair in the back seat, and in the winter, that seat got really, really dirty, and on a cold winter day, it wasn't that fun taking the wheels off and putting that chair in. I played basketball for many, many years, so an additional chair had to go into the trunk. So on those winter days, it wasn't fun. I finally made the decision to go to a van. And if you're in sports and you've got an extra chair, you need that extra space. And those are the types of things you consider. My shoulder right now are not doing too well because of all the different activities I've been in. So those are things you need to consider. The other thing is echo what Marco and what Fernando was saying. We're lucky to have Universal with us today, because I think you need to develop that relationship sooner than later. Before you go shopping for a car, you really need to start that relationship, because they will help you figure out what is best. They're the experts. They've done all my modifications, and they've really come up with different solutions. I've driven many different cars, and there were some challenges in some of the cars that I've driven. Like I've driven a Mini Cooper that had absolutely no space at all to deal with. And, I was able to take it to Marco, and we figured it out, and we got me into that Mini Cooper. And that Mini Cooper was my wife's car. So, because it was so tight, it was difficult for her to drive with hand controls. So we put a system in that the hand controls were quick release. So it's those types of solutions that we come up with. Marco just finished doing a Jeep for me. The Jeep's pretty high, and I just didn't want to spend a lot of money on putting a kneeling system in. So we put a bench or a fold down bench and helped me get into the vehicle. So it's those types of things that you could do beforehand before you make that decision, because they are definitely the experts. And that's about it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Franco. We had a comment come through saying so cool, and I wanted to agree. Thank you for sharing that. We did also have another comment come through, and this is for all of our presenters today. Thank you so much for showing us options other than vans and trucks. They said that they were much less fearful now than they have been. And so we do want to thank everyone that is presenting today. So thank you for that, Frank. And now please welcome Mike Mulligan.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here today and present kind of what my system is. I'll let BJ show my pictures and my video, and then I'll walk you through kind of my experience.
Hi, my name is Mike Mulligan. I'm from London, Ontario. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, and my accident was in June of 1996. I started driving again in June of 2003, and I was able to use electronic hand controls as my driving ability. My left hand is my gas and brake. I just forward for gas, back for brake. My right hand is my steering. Turn the little steering wheel, and it allows the big wheel to turn. This center screen is all the functions of the van, my windows, my locks, all my gears, and that allows me to independently drive on my own without any assistance.
So yeah, as I mentioned in the video, my accident was in '96, and I was 16 years old at the time. I just started driving, and so I had, with rehab and everything, I had finished high school, went on to university, and I was getting driven back and forth from St. Mary's to London for school. I was taking civil engineering, and at the time, I just wasn't ready to drive, so I had someone to do that. But as 2002 came along, I was starting to think about, getting a job after graduation, and it was going to be civil engineering is what I went to school for. So it was just figuring out the freedom of, what I was going to do after I graduated in '03. So I started taking my driver training assessment here at Parkwood in London, and quickly realized that my upper body and my shoulder rotation and everything, I just wasn't able to use the manual hand controls like everyone else in terms of just, being able to drive. And so they have recommended that I go to Toronto to the Macmillan Center and try something different. And it was there that we realized that the electronic hand controls were the option for me. And so I quickly started taking lessons, but quickly realized, it wasn't something you just learn really quick. It was a matter over 10 to 15 hours of training and going back and forth to Toronto that I had to rely on family to take me back and forth also. So there was just kind of the time element and trying to figure out that. So it did take me quite a while. My dad is a long haul truck driver, so trying to find the time that he could take me back and forth. So, but it was quickly just, going down. Each lesson was learning, like the gas and brake, how sensitive it is, how far to push forward, how far to pull back, learning the steering and the sensitivity of that. And then it was the function of the van also and how to maneuver in it. And also just all the other functions, like using the gas and brake control. I could also use my holding my wrists. I could do my signal lights from there, my high beam, low beam, my windows. Everything could be kind of controlled from there, cruise control. So it was a matter of, being able to be multifunctioning using my right hand, my left hand, counting beeps, because one beep was turning left, 2 beeps was turning right, 5 beeps was windows. So there was a lot of things going on, plus, watching the road for everything else going on. So there's a lot going on, but it did take time. And, over the time, I was able to learn it fairly quickly and be able to get back on the road again. And, what an enjoyment that was, being able to have the freedom to, now not rely on family or friends to be able to drive me around. I could just jump in my vehicle now and kind of go on wherever I really wanted to. And it made it easier for, obviously getting a job, going back and forth to a job. But it was the fact that, this equipment is not cheap. The van conversion itself is very expensive. All the controls that I did need in terms of the electronic gas and brake, the electronic steering, the main control center that then has all the functions there also, that all came to, $90,000. And then you get the price of the van in there. So there was that just awareness that, obviously when I was looking at this, I was told, how expensive it was. But for me, it was just the amount of the independence, the $150,000 that it was going to cost. For me, was really just a matter of, remortgaging my house and being able to do this. And it's paid itself off a million times by now. So, I've had a couple of vans since my very first one. This van that is in the video here is a Toyota Sienna. It's a 2015 that I had converted. I was very specific on what I wanted. I'm in London, so I chose a dealer here in London that was able to help me out with everything. And so I worked with them. I said, this is what I want. I want a white Toyota Sienna that is the Sport Edition with navigation and everything else. So we ordered it from the factory, got it ordered. It went down to, it's a VMI modification. So it went down there for the conversion, then went to EMC in Maine, where then the hand controls were put in. And then from there, it came back to London, where Goldline then finished the modification and adjusted it, sized it, and everything for me. I drive from my chair, so there is an easy lock system in the van for me to, I drive right from my chair, I walk in, and then really all my controls are set up ready for me to use right then and there. It is nice because someone else can drive. I do have a driver's seat for someone else to put their vehicle or the driver's seat in, and everything can kind of be shut off and they can drive using the normal gas and brake and steering. The unfortunate part I did find that is it's not like the manual hand controls where it can just be kind of taken out and put in any other vehicle. But that's okay because for me, my next vehicle, I'm sure I will keep this one as long as I possibly can, and it will outlive the hand controls, which again, getting them that they do have to be, recalibrated and worked onto them. So sometimes the equipment has to be taken out, sent to EMC to be recalibrated. And during that time, you're without a vehicle that I could drive. So that's the unfortunate part of it. But, for driving for the last 20 years, it's only happened a few times that I've had to worry about it. But it does give me the independence and the freedom. And I love it. I'm going on 20 years of driving. I'm going 25 years that I just, celebrated my 25th anniversary since my my injury. And being able to work independently, drive independently, go wherever I want is amazing. So that's kind of my story. And thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Mike. Leander in the chat wanted to say thank you for sharing your sophisticated vehicle, and agreed, very sophisticated. And thank you for sharing everything that you did, or you mentioned, sorry. And now please welcome Rick McDonald.
Hello. So VJ is going to show a couple of pictures. I'm into classic vehicles. I'm into older stuff. I've been in a wheelchair for 42 years, and I've been driving for 40 years with various kinds of hand controls, various vehicles. Okay, so right now I own a 1957 T-Bird. It's the white one on the left. And that's my hobby car that I drive on weekends with some assistance, getting transferred and stuff. And on the right side is my daily driver. It's a 1951 Chevy Suburban, and I'm completely independent with that vehicle. Can change the slide. Here's my garage at home, and you can see that the T-Bird, I put a hoist in my garage so I can lift the roof off of the T-Bird. So it's a hard top, but it's also convertible if I want it. Can go to the next one. Here's my 1951 Chevy Suburban, and I've got the back doors open. You can't see the lift, but it has a folding Ricon lift in the back. And I think there's another picture that shows the back. There's the lift. I have it almost open so you can see right in. The lift comes down. I get in through the back. I've got 2 seats in the back that are split. So it's a 4-seater. And what I do, I'm a C5-6 quadriplegic. So I still do my transfers. I've been doing them for 42 years. I do my own transfers into the driver's seat and then back into the wheelchair. So here's a brief video. There's my 57 T-Bird. I've got them parked side by side. And this is opening the door to my 51 Chevy Suburban. So I've got the old style sort of Ricon gas and brake there, and then the tri-pin on the steering wheel. And I'm sitting on a 6-way power seat base, again, Ricon. So that's the inside of the Suburban. Here's the inside of the 57 T-Bird. We're going to go around and show you a little bit of the back of it. So it's a very pretty car. I used to have a 57 Chevy Bel Air. So opening up the T-Bird, very simple modification. The Ricon gas and brake, and just the tri-pin. And the T-Bird is pretty much level with my wheelchair. So I just use a transfer board and slide over into the driver's seat and get my feet in. So here's the back of my 51 Chevy Suburban. Again, it's my daily driver. I drive it from January to January. I get a lot of funny stares driving this down the Don Valley in Toronto in wintertime. So here's the lift that comes down. And I think the video just paused. There's a little bit more video, yeah. It's sort of hesitating for me. So then you can go in and you can see, I just put my wheelchair in the back there. And there's my 6-way power seat base. So yeah, I've been retired now for about 7 years, and I'm really only into keeping and maintaining my older vehicles now. I'm not really interested in a minivan or anything like that, but really appreciate seeing you guys, some of the stuff that you have and that you're working on. It's great. And I'll hang around if anybody's got any questions as well.
That was awesome. Thank you for that, Rick.
All right, thank you.
Please welcome Shauna Petrie.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. My name is Shauna. I have used a wheelchair since 1981. Now that's 40 years. And in those 40 years, I've gone through 5 vehicles. So I never actually drove prior to my injury. I was injured at 16. And so here I am today driving what's called a Mazda 5. And I'm about to demonstrate that in a video presentation. And regretfully, the only downside to this Mazda 5 is the fact that they stopped making it in 2017. So currently, if you're in the mood for getting one, unfortunately, you've got to go through the used market route, which I know Leander recently successfully did. So this is me. We can get the VJ, you can get it rolling there. I am coming out of my home and down the ramp and into my vehicle. And as you'll see, there are no power doors. Apparently that was going to invalidate my warranty. So I simply open the front door, the back door slides open. And the key modification of this vehicle, in addition to the hand controls, would be, you can't see it just this moment, but inside there is a speedy lift. I believe it's Adapt Solutions makes those lifts. And so I'm just going to transfer over, and all I simply do is I kind of shift forward and I put in one leg for stability. And as long as that one leg's in there, I'm going to fall in instead of fall out of the vehicle. And in comes the second leg, and there I go. And then on the side of the panel, in a moment, you'll see there is a remote that I'm going to use to put down the lift. So here we go. Just so you know, if I were more nimble and agile like Leander, we would forgo the speedy lift, but I would say about 10 years ago, I decided I wanted something a little bit simpler on my body, and that's why we've got the speedy lift on the go here. So all I need to do is I take the brakes off of my chair, and then essentially, this is not going to be very graceful. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but I just have to shift that around and hook the chair onto that speedy lift. And that's essentially how the speedy lift works. It's a very, very simple apparatus, not a lot that can go wrong with it. This is my second speedy lift. My previous one lasted 17 years before I replaced it. Even then I could probably have gotten a new motor, but I figured I splurged on the new speedy lift. So in it goes. It doesn't take that long. It could be quicker, but that's it is what it is. And in goes the chair. And just so you know, I'm still able to retain, there's a seat in behind my driver's seat or the passenger seat as well. So I still have an additional 3 seats in addition to the 2 in the front. And that is just a homemade little stick with a hook on it, which I use to pull the door shut. And here I go, and I am in and ready to go. And then basically you're going to see the process in reverse because it's just a little bit different in terms of getting out of the vehicle. My husband videotaped this. His first time videotaping ever. Here I am, and I'm about to open the door. I personally take that stick and I use that to open the door. I used to just swing the door open myself, and I found I was developing a little bit of a sore shoulder, and I thought it's just not worth it. So I just pop it open with the stick. And then once again, I'm going to that remote that's mounted on the side, and then out comes the chair. Once again, sometimes if it were raining and snowing and sleet, it would feel like this is in slow motion, but it's actually not that long. And around's going to come the chair. And once again, you'll see that I'm going to transfer out. I don't have a transfer board or any kind of apparatus, but Adapt Solutions does actually produce a special seat that can be installed to go along with the speedy lift. They designed one especially for the Mazda 5. I think it's called the Excel board. And but I think you'll find this van is so low and the gap is so small that for the most part, I think you can manage without that seat. So in goes the lift. I just pull around my chair and never forget the purse. I did that once and someone smashed out the windows and helped themselves to it. So you don't forget it again. Getting out, I put both legs out first. It's just a personal preference in terms of how I transfer. So 1 leg getting in, 2 legs coming out. And then here we go. And then off go the brakes, grab the purse, never, ever leave that. Just a reminder. And you can tell this is a COVID video because I grabbed the mask and I'm about to go inside shopping. And there we go. That's in a nutshell, that is how it works with a Mazda 5. And just so you know, the beauty of it is that, I mean, I'm dreaming that they'll come out with another comparable vehicle, but if they don't, the speedy lift is a very economical way to, if you need to move into a van, you can just plop that speedy lift out of the Mazda 5 and it could go into a Sienna, a Dodge Caravan, it wouldn't matter. You could actually just transfer that over and then you would get the corresponding, I think it's called the Ascento XL seat. Once again, another Adapt Solutions product that you would add. So you would have the speedy lift in conjunction with the Ascento XL seat, and you could avoid a full conversion in terms of lowering your van and having a lift. And for me personally, I don't know why I'm a T5 paraplegic, but I really struggle with going up those ramps, getting into the vans. I'm very interested. I saw Marcus's side entry, and I think I might do a little bit better with that. Anyway, I will stick around after. And just so you know, even though everyone's presenting all of these exotic cars, and in my mind, I am an exotic car person. I've never had one. My first car was a K car. Here I am with a Mazda 5. My dream car, and anyone out there who can figure out how to properly adapt it, it's the Tesla X with they've got falcon wing doors. I think those are the way of the future for wheelchair users. And I have seen someone in Germany who's been able to adapt their vehicle with something very similar to the speedy lift. And I think it's called the Ladyboy 2. So if someone can get that Ladyboy 2, a weird name, but anyway, Ladyboy 2, let's get it to Canada. I would get the Tesla X. So anyway, thank you very much. Any questions? I think we'll be taking them at the end. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Hopefully you will get your Tesla X, fingers crossed. Please welcome now Anthony Liu.
Hello, hello, good afternoon, everybody. This has been amazing. I am a car nut through and through, so it's been, although I know a lot of the adaptions available, it's been great to see them in use and then how individuals use them to their specific needs. So a little bit of history on me. I am 33 years old currently. I was injured when I was 21, and I was injured on the job as a mechanic. So it all kind of just falls into place here. My first car out of rehab was a 1987 5-liter Mustang. So Rick, beautiful cars. I absolutely love the T-Bird. Not a fan, but it is beautiful. And I think I've seen you on the DVP in winter time before. And I was like, what is he doing driving that in the winter? But yeah, so the one thing with my 87 5-liter, I learned very quickly. It was a two-door sports car, much like Fernando's cars, and transferring after a long day, it got very tiresome. I was 21, 22 years old at the time, pretty fit, strong, a lot fitter and stronger now. But even still with my new car and my BMW, I only take it out on certain days because I know if I have, like Fernando mentioned, more than probably 3 stops, that's an extra 6 transfers to my day. And it's pretty brutal because breaking down the chair is not included in those transfers. So it's something definitely to think about what your function and style was mentioned as well too, how it'll impact your life and your daily activities. But after the Mustang, I went to a much more practical vehicle, I think. I really thought it out, and VJ, if you can cue up that video, I will introduce you guys to Sophie, my 2008 Ford F-150. She's a little tired. I just had to replace a motor inside her, but I basically wheel up to the car, open the driver's side door. There's a button that opens the rear driver's side door that you really can't see right now. I didn't get into too much detail with that. So I basically just get into my driver's side seat, reach around behind the pillar there, pick up my chair, pull it in, I hit the button, and the door closes. The door is, somebody's knocking on my door. They're going to have to wait. The door is completely operated on air ride suspension or air ride controls. I will explain that a little bit more after because it's 2 separate systems. So as you see, the door just flies open. I reach behind my seat again. I drop the chair out and position it to where I need it and kind of just jump in. And whether I close the door manually, I do have controls in my wheelchair as well too, but I just find it's a little bit faster and I don't have to really wait for that to close. And sometimes it doesn't work as well. Thanks, Charlie. Do we have, and then so yeah, now is the other part of the air ride suspension system that I have that makes getting in and out of the truck so much easier. A lot of you probably didn't notice at the beginning of the video that that front wheel on the left-hand side was pretty well tucked into the wheel well there. And that's what really makes my life a lot easier is the air ride suspension. It drops the car 6 inches in the front. I think it's about 8 inches in the back. And it makes my transfer almost level. I think there's about a 2-inch difference between my 24-inch seat to the 26-inch seat in the truck. So for people that are kind of strong, don't have problems really transferring that level, I really don't think it's too much for my chair. And I see a lot of other people doing bigger transfers. So I think it's great. Air ride suspension, you can adapt it to every corner of the vehicle. So if I park on a hill of some sort, I can drop one side of the truck so that this side is level and I can just jump out and it's not really too much of an issue. I can drop the right side individually, left side, back, front, whatever it may be. What else do I have written down here? I had to make some notes. I didn't realize that these controls were so sophisticated. I thought my system was pretty just simple and I could get through it. The air ride system itself, to lower and raise the truck, you will find those on the TTC buses. So initially I was told it wasn't practical, it wouldn't last, but the transport trucks use air ride systems in the winter. TTC uses it all year round. That cost me $10,000. I got a grant from the March of Dimes vehicle and home modification program. So if you qualify for that, they give you $10,000 and that, or $15,000 is the full grant. And the other $5,000 went towards that suicide door that opened up in the rear, because that was highly modified by Sparrowhawk out in Waterloo. They are a member of Silver Cross Automotive now. And I've never, ever had an issue with that door. It is absolutely amazing. I've had the truck for about 7 years now. The button works amazing. The controls don't work that well. Oh my gosh, they're knocking on my door again. But sorry, 1 second. I'm doing a presentation. I'm the Bluetooth button. I think the battery's just dying, so that's the only issue. The air ride suspension didn't really have an issue. It was just fuses, and that's because I was running a sound system in the car and it drew a lot of energy. But that was pretty well all the issues that I had with the air ride suspension. And again, I am building I am building a race car. It's a BMW 2-door coupe, much like what Fernando drives, basically because the door opens really wide. I do break down my chair, bring it across, but the hand control adaptions, they will be 3D printed. They will be very amazing with a dual clutch transmission so that I can mimic the manual feel of standard shifting. I will have YouTube videos on that. If you guys want to follow me on YouTube, Anthony Liu, we'll get into a lot more detail about the hand controls, the drivability, and all that jazz. So thank you very much for allowing me to show you my beautiful truck, Sophie, and open your minds to some other adaptions. Things are available, guys. You really just have to do your research. If the money is there, you can really make anything work. There's a lot that is available now, technology, and so there really are no limits. So just, yeah, if you got any crazy question about crazy car adaptions and stuff like that, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk more about cars. So again, thank you very much. This has been a great series.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And now for a video from Jason Elinot.
Hi, my name's Jason. This is my Polaris Ranger that I used to get around my property out in the country. After my motorcycle accident, it's my little pickup truck that moves me around my property. This is how I get in, and it's a 2015 Ranger 570 midsize with sure grip hand control, same as a car. So I just roll up. I get in, take my chair apart. Put a seatbelt around my chair and I'm ready to go. I can go rip and tear. Just hop back out now.
And just before you get out, just show the hand control. Just show where it is.
to the use of the hand controls. So push in for a brake, pull back like that for gas, and you just rest your thumb on the steering wheel. It's the same as driving a car with sure grip hand controls. They work identical. So that's it. I'll just hop out. And that's all there is to it. Just if you have country property or you want to wander around, this is a great way to hit the trails, have some fun with the guys, and I use it like a little pickup truck around my property in the country. Thanks very much.
Hi everybody, this is me just pulling into the garage after out for a little motorcycle ride. And it's a 2012 Street Glide Harley with a Harley car. And as you can see, my wheelchair all breaks down and it's just sits down the sidecar with a couple bungee cords on it. So I was involved in a motorcycle accident in August 31st, 2009, and was always happy on a set of handlebars. So decided to hop back on after the act, about a year and a half after my accident. So my first bike is out front. It's a 95 Road King. And then a couple of years ago, I put this Street Glide together. So I just get the pieces and parts out of the sidecar and start putting my wheelchair together. It's the same to get on the bike as it is to get back off. So basically, you're seeing me get off, basically the same thing for me to get on. My girlfriend's in a chair too. Andrea Anderchuk's in a chair too. So she actually hops on first sometimes and we take her chair apart. She puts in the sidecar, then I hop on the bike and take my chair apart and away we go. We've been down to Tennessee, done around Lake Superior and stuff. Life is about having fun, so you should do what you enjoy. Motorcycling's not a cheap venture, but if you can swing it, we've met a lot of really cool and interesting people. So this is me just hopping off. And getting and then we're at the party or at home and wherever to go. So the bike has a suicide shift on the left side of the tank, that arm with a hand clutch. And then the rear brake is now the front left, is normally on your right foot. So we move that up to the front left handbrake. And that's the rear brake, and the front brake is up on the front right hand, and the gas is still twists and stuff, and shifting and the clutch is done by the suicide shifter on the left side of the tank. And yeah, that's how we get around. And Andrea and I enjoy hopping on the bike and going out to dinner or doing a weekend cruise or stuff. So we've lots of fun. Short and sweet. I know we're running a little bit behind, so if you have any questions, just let me know after and go from there. I've been really enjoying the different adapted vehicles and stuff. It's very cool to see what everybody else has. And like you say, the sky is the limit. If you can think of it, you find somebody to do it for you, and away you go. Have fun. Hope you enjoyed.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Now for a video from Sherry Lynn Roberts demonstrating how she transfers into her vehicle with a manual wheelchair. Thank you for your video, Sherry Lynn. Now for an additional transfer video and story from Joanne Smith.
I love to drive, and I always have. For me, getting my license back after I was injured was my ticket to freedom and independence. I use my car for work. I'm on the road all the time, traveling all over Southern Ontario. But moreover and more fun, I also do a ton of road trips with friends, and it gives me the freedom to go where I want to go and when I want to go. I love it. It's amazing.
Thank you for your video and story, Joanne. Please welcome back Fernando.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. We will try this again. Bear with me here. Oops. No, again, it's not working. I'm gonna have to get VJ. I just sent it via WeTransfer if you wanna play it.
Fernando, I don't have it here. WeTransfer sometimes may take some time, I guess. I don't see it here at all. Give me a second.
It's saying that it is.
It's sent, yeah, but
Yeah.
it may be taking some time for it to get here. Yeah, I don't have it. Sorry.
Okay,
Is there some? Yeah, is there some other? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, let me try this. Bear with me. Okay, let's see if this works now. Okay, let's try it. Here we go. Again, I apologize, guys. I've never had this happen. I have no idea what happened. We will skip through these slides and I will get right to, I believe I was somewhere here. Here. So currently this is what I'm driving. It's again, surprise, surprise, it's a coupe. It's a two-door and it just works for me. And that's the one I showed you initially that has the feather light hand controls. Trunk space is something to consider just because you're driving a sports car or some kind of small car. If you have a coupe, sedan, or hatchback, if your chair fits in the back of the trunk, that is a bonus because obviously you have more seats available if you're going with multiple people. And my first chair would fold the backrest, which was easier. This chair on the right still fits, but it's pretty small. So obviously that works. And from a safety perspective, if you got your chair in the back and there's people in the back, it's kind of better if it's in the trunk. Just something I wanted to mention. In terms of past vehicles, I've also had an SUV. My wife drives, we share the vehicles. They both have hand controls. And obviously the bonus with that is the huge trunk space, the safety aspect, the family road trips. The downside is the transfer height. Picking up the chair from the ground when you're high up is very difficult. And if you're doing it multiple times a day, it can be exhausting. Also a lot of wear and tear on your shoulders. And then again, you're dealing with a four-door, so shorter doors. Current vehicle I have as an SUV is the Volvo XC90. Again, huge cargo space. When I went and looked at it, I brought my hand bike with me and I told the guy, put this in the trunk. And if you don't have to take the back wheels off the hand bike, it's sold. And he managed to do it. It was long enough. I brought measuring tapes. I made sure it was long enough. And Also, I measured the seat height. I put the seat in the lowest position and measured it from the ground to make sure it was as low as possible. I did some research. With trucks, what ends up happening is usually the bigger the truck, the higher the truck. So if you can find the seat height nice and low, that's always a bonus. And that's what this vehicle did. It sort of checked all the boxes. Again, this has the traditional Sure Grip hand controls just because I've had it for quite a few years, but I will be putting feather lights in eventually. Like I mentioned, everything fits in this thing, which is amazing, whether it's family, my tennis chair, my kayak, my hand bike, my mountain bike, a Christmas tree, my dog, everything. It's a great vehicle. Best of both worlds is obviously I'm very fortunate to have both, and my wife and I can share them, and they both have hand controls. So depending on the function of the day, or you can switch it up. So I'm very lucky that way. Now I want to talk about something a bit more exciting in terms of hand controls. I mean, go-kart racing. So Toyota Mobility Initiative, and you probably know Russ Bond. He used to have, well, he does. He's still on motoring television, and he's pretty famous. And we partnered with Toyota Mobility Initiative, and they wanted to make Goodwood Cartways, which is in Barrie, be more inclusive. And my friend Rob and I were basically chosen to test drive the hand controls in these carts, be the guinea pigs of sorts, and do some laps and provide our feedback. And we did that. And in doing that, we now have 2 carts that are accessible. So I invite you guys, if you have a chance, to go to Goodwood Cartways and drive one of the 2 accessible hand control carts at the facility. It's a lot of fun, and it'll teach you a lot about driving. That being said, I always liked sort of the racing aspect and just performance driving and just learning about it. And I got my opportunity to get in a race car when I was visiting family in the States, and have a race car driver take me for a few laps. This is a GT3 that was incredible. It's pretty much a race car on the road. And I can tell you, I did 3 laps with this driver and got out and didn't realize how dizzy I was till I got out. And what a thrill. And that prompted me to try and do some track days. So the first thing I did was I went with a company called Apex Driving, and we did performance driving. So I actually learned a bit of skid pad. I learned to do some pylons. I learned braking. And what they do is they take you, a professional driver will drive you in your car first. He'll show you the apexes, the turns, where to brake, where to accelerate. And then you'll switch places. You will drive the car, your own car, and have the driver there sort of coaching you as you go around the track. And then if he feels you're strong enough and fit enough to do it on your own, he'll let you do some laps at the end, which was a real thrill. I've done a lot of track days just with some vehicles. I try to do one a year kind of thing, and really enjoy that, and with different cars. And it's rain or shine once you pay for it. And you learn a lot in the wet, let me tell you. That's an interesting endeavor when you get out on a wet racetrack. It's a very different experience, but nonetheless, really exciting. Different companies. This is a company called speedtherapy.com. Probably my most incredible experience on a track was the Watkins Glen International. It's a famous NASCAR track. It used to be an F1 track. It's in New York State. And I got to get out there with a friend and drive the car on the track. And it's a super wide track. It's a high speed track. And again, being coached by a professional driver who drove my car and actually drove it really hard, which was fun and scary at the same time, and then let me drive, and then I did my own laps. And what an incredible experience. If it's something that you're interested in, it's definitely, I know Anthony is, and there's probably other people, it's definitely worthwhile doing. yeah, just to finish it off, you know, like everybody seems to be saying, driving is freedom, and it's independence, and it's an escape. So get in your car and, you know, get driving and just enjoy that freedom and that escape. Thanks so much, guys. I apologize again for the tech issues. I don't know what happened, but this is really exciting to see everybody set up and how they're driving again. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. No apology needed for the tech issues. It happens, but thank you for coming back and finishing your presentation. It's now time to move into our question and answer period. Andrea Anderchuk has been collecting all of your questions from the chat, and any questions you have can still be submitted using the chat function. Please click on the raise hand icon if the chat function is not accessible to you, and we will unmute you and you can ask your question out loud. We will post we will post contact coordinates in the chat box for any further questions you may have. And Andrea, I'll pass it on to you for the questions.
Thank you, Jaspreet, and thank you to all the everybody who presented and the videos. It was amazing and really interesting. So thank you to everybody. So the first question is, what is the name / model of the lift of the Mercedes van? Can it fit on other minivans, Dodge, Toyota, Honda? What is the name model of the lift on the Mercedes van? Would Marco be able to?
Yeah. It's it's called it's made by a company called in Italy called Autolift, and it's called the S6 Evo side entry. It has been designed for the Mercedes vans. Can it fit on other vans? The Dodge, Toyota, Honda. Possibly, we'd have to take a look at it and see if we can modify the brackets accordingly. But we just have to give it a shot, take a look, and then see what the ground clearance is, what the impact is on the ground clearance, and if that can be set up. The only problem with that is that if the space inside those vans, unless it's a lower floor, is a problem. Unless we want to, and I'm thinking out loud here, unless we want to set it up as an inside lift, inside the cabin, do some vertical height inside the van, but at least you don't have a ramp anymore. That's a possibility. But we'd have to take a look at it. Just give me a shout and we'll chat. We're willing to give it a shot anyways.
Thank you, Marco. The next question is, do you or can you do a simple front seat conversion to a manual swivel 90 degrees in an extended cab pickup truck for easy transfer from the exterior?
Yes. Short answer is yes. Come see me.
Good answer, Marco, good answer. With the side ramp access with the front passenger seat removed, how do people typically enter the vehicle? Drive straight in or come in backwards?
If they're going to drive from their wheelchair, they go straight in and then go basically across the vehicle into the driver's area, and they turn into the driver's area and then they drive straight in, typically. If they're going to access the front passenger position, depending on the type of wheelchair they have, if it's a mid-wheel drive, they can go straight in, turn 90 and go into the front passenger position. If it's a rear-wheel drive wheelchair, then it's easy to back in into the van, and then you swing your front end 90 degrees, and then you drive into the front passenger position. A lot of it depends on the wheelchair you have, on the power chair you have.
Thank you, Marco. The next question is, I have a Ural that comes with a sidecar. Put a hitch on the back that using a bike carrier will take my walker or chair. Is that a question or is that a comment? I think it's just a comment. A Ural.
Ural is a type of motorcycle.
The next question is, does anyone know of a source in the GTA for an accessible motorhome rental, no mods for driver, chair user to be a passenger only, and may be able to transfer to swivel passenger position. You know anybody in the Toronto area, Marco?
No, we rent.
Or anybody else?
Yeah, we rent minivans, but we don't, not motorhomes.
Also similar passenger driver ability for Spider three-wheel motorcycle rental. I'm not sure about that, about accessible.
No, I think that becomes very high-end equipment that would, unless there's a lot of people looking for that kind of equipment, wouldn't make sense to put them into a rental fleet.
Now that your warranty is probably over, would you convert to power door? And I think that was to Shauna. I think so. I think that was directed to you, Shauna.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's well worth. It's all we're doing. Having a power door is absolutely amazing. I didn't want to invalidate the warranty at the beginning. The key caution though with a power door is that anything electronic, something can potentially go wrong, and there are certainly extra costs along with repairing that. So I have had power doors on 2 previous vehicles, the Nissan Access vehicles, which are no longer made. So there's a trade-off involved. I've just gotten used to using the hook system, but to be honest, having a power door would be amazing. So if you have the option from the get-go of purchasing that, I would choose the power door.
Thank you, Shauna. The next question is, could the airside system be put into a minivan, such as the new hybrid Toyota Sienna 2021?
Yes. The answer is yes.
There was a comment, didn't know you could 3D print hand controls. I didn't know that either, and I think Anthony said that. That's pretty cool. A 3D hand control.
Yeah, so basically the hand controls themselves it's the same kind of like the 90-degree rocker. So it's pull down to go and push forward to brake. I forget who makes it. I think it's Sure Grip as well too, but it's the module that'll be 3D printed for the shifting and stuff like that. That'll
not the hand control itself.
Not the hand control itself. No, that'll be reinforced though because of the nature of the driving that I'll be doing. But
hang on for dear life.
Yes. Thank you, Anthony. The next question is, Shauna called Falcon Wing doors the way of the future for drivers with SCI. What other features are presenters waiting for or believe will be part of the way of the future? Does anybody have any comments or?
I think Marco's the man for that stuff, but the adaption, when I see the entire side of whether it's a pickup truck or whatever open up, and Marco was showing some of that.
Yeah, what the Tesla, the Model X has is a gull wing door. It's called the gull wing door, and the whole side of the car opens up and opens. So basically, it gives you an option to get very close to the vehicle. I don't know what the heights are between the seat and the wheelchair, but to adapt something like an Ascent and XL seat should be possible, but we just have to see how the floor mounts are, because I know the Model X, the batteries are in the floor, so we have to be careful how you hook into it.
Thank you, Marco. The next question, I was wondering about the transfer seat that Marco showed to get into the Fiesta. Is it a variation of the Adapt Solution XL board? It seemed less cumbersome. Yeah.
Yes, it is. But it is modified, and the actual plate was made a bit smaller because of the space between the plate, the seat, if you want to call it, and the door. So we just basically modified it to suit that. suit that application. But it is an XL board that we modified the mounts for the height and the size.
How old can a vehicle be to be modified for WSIB? They're looking at a Kia Soul 2005 with 140,000 kilometers on it.
I can't answer that. It depends what modification you're looking to do. If it's a bolt-on application, then they probably don't really care, because whatever equipment gets put in can be taken out and put into another vehicle. But if it's something where it's actually modifying the vehicle itself, then they might be a bit more cautious. It all depends what has to be done. But bolt-on applications are usually not a problem.
Okay. For those that don't know, they're looking for a gas station with full service. Try the free app called Fuel Service app at fuelservice.org. It's written in the chat to copy and paste if you need to be. What is the cost range to buy, install a swing away transfer board on a minivan, Marco?
If you're talking about the XL board, it's less than $2,000. If you're looking at an XL seat, where it actually has where it actually lifts you to the height of the seat, then that's a bit more. It goes up to around $5,000.
Are you able to access lift systems from other countries, such as the Ladyboy S2, that is like a speedy lift, but can go into the back of a Tesla X?
Probably. We access the one, the Autolift F6 is from Italy. So asking it from another country is usually not the issue. The issue is what support can you get with it, and from an after sales service. If something goes wrong, how long does it take to get parts and things like that? So the stumbling block is not getting the product itself. Usually, how can it be supported after sale? And before going to look for something out of country, I'd want to see a Tesla X, and then take a look and see if we can modify something that's available in North America, because then at least after sales service is a lot easier.
Thank you, Marco. I think that's it for the questions, Jaspreet. It's been a wonderful presentation of our series, and thank you to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea. We'd like to thank everyone for their questions. Please know that you are always able to reach out to your local peer program coordinator to be matched with a peer mentor with any questions you might have regarding getting back on the road again and driving. A huge thank you to our series sponsor, Silver Cross Automotive, our Part 3 sponsors and presenter, Universal Motion, for their very comprehensive and informative presentation today, as well as our provincial sponsor, IBC. Thank you to all the members of the community that shared their wonderful content and experiences with us. And finally, thank you to all of the organizations helping us share this series with the disability community across Canada. Thank you to everyone who attended today, and we encourage you to provide us with your comments and feedback at events@sciontario.org. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you for joining us.